everybody. My name is Shaquille Trinity Gilchrist, and I am coming to you guys with a word for the single ladies. So, single ladies, I just want to let you know that your wilderness season is over. Okay, it is ending, and I know y'all probably have heard this for a while. Y'all have probably heard this for a very, very long time. So, this is a word that I got last week while I was in worship service, and then I just started hearing God tell me, who is that coming up from the wilderness leaning upon her beloved? And it kept repeating, who is that coming up from the wilderness leaning upon her beloved? And I want to let you guys know that is coming from Songs of Songs 8 and 5. And I heard it loud and clear. God was just saying, who is that cometh up from the wilderness leaning upon her beloved? At first I didn't know that it was Song of Songs or Song of Solomon until I looked it up, right? And then I realized, okay. And upon doing further research, I was able to understand that the Shulamite woman was coming from out of the wilderness, right? And then in doing so, she was leaning on her spouse, right? Her soon to be spouse, or I believe her spouse, right? But what God was telling me as I was worshiping and reciting the scripture to me, right, it came out of nowhere. Like I said, right, I didn't even know really what part of Song of Solomon it was. I don't even think I specifically knew it was a Song of Song. I think I had to look it up to figure it out. But I will say this, is that he just kept saying, your wilderness season is over. He said, your wilderness season is over. It is ending. Now lean on your beloved. And then he specifically said, I am your beloved. And to my single ladies, what I believe the Lord is wanting us to know is that it's twofold. We are coming out of our wilderness season, right? Some of us have been single for a very long time, and we look at our wilderness season as being single, and that could be true, right? Because the waiting season, especially if you are in a marital season, right? The waiting season can represent the wilderness, because when we're in the waiting season, we're going through the pruning, we're going through the process. God is chopping away at stuff that we don't need. God is separating us away from people who no longer serve us. God is implementing new plans, but taking away old ideas and strategies that we had. And also, y'all, the waiting season requires you to be in a season of hiding, right? I know mine have. The waiting season requires you to trust in the Lord and lean not into your own understanding. And also, guys, if I'm being completely honest with you, it will test your faith, because when God tells you that you are in a marital season and it's silent, and you don't know where this person is coming from, you don't know how he's going to do it. He's telling you not to date, but wait. He's telling you to do everything, but look, that looks so polar to what society will say to do to obtain a spouse. But when God has you in a marital promise season where you're waiting on him to fulfill it, it requires trust, and you cannot mess it up. You cannot put your hand to it and mess it up. So it is a wilderness season, because not only are you going through the waiting process, but God is pruning you from at least for me, God has been pruning me from other aspects of my life that I just can't take with me. He's been pruning me from the spirit of fear. He's been pruning me from the spirit of people pleasing. He's been pruning me from the spirit of leaning on my own understanding. He's been pruning me from the spirit of procrastination. He's been pruning me from the spirit of self-sabotage. It's been a lot of pruning, and I feel like I've been in a wilderness season. And while I'm in worship service on Sunday, last Sunday, I'm hearing God say, who is that cometh up from the wilderness leaning upon her beloved? And then I start hearing him say, your wilderness season is over. Now lean on your beloved. I am your beloved. Because this is twofold, right, y'all? The first thing that I want y'all to know is that Jesus Christ is our beloved. Jesus Christ is we are his beloved as well, right? So when they say leaning on your beloved, he's not just talking about your God ordained spouse, right? He's not just talking about that. He's talking about the fact that Jesus is your first husband. However, he is your first husband, but I'm also sending your husband to come. And when you come from out of the wilderness, your husband will be waiting on you, and you will be able to lean on your beloved. That's twofold. Your beloved is what you've been leaning on anyway, right? All throughout while you were in that marital promise, while you were in that wilderness season, I never want you to forget that God carried you through it, that God was your cloud in the day, but he was your fire by night. Never forget that you had fresh manna every single day. Never forget that every need that you had was provided for. However, God is bringing that love physically, right? It is the Kairos time for you to lean on your physical beloved, meaning your husband, your spouse. And we are going to need it, ladies, because I'm going to tell you why. I don't know about nobody else, but I have been very tired in this season, right? And the reason why I've been so tired is because I truly believe that God is bringing our marital promises to us in this season, if it is your season. But I also believe that the wilderness season can get very exhausting once you're closer to the end of it. And so to that point, you're lacking strength. I don't know about y'all, but the warfare of being tired, I've been crying almost every day for the last 2 weeks straight. Maybe even a month straight, because in the process of being in the wilderness season, I'm still birthing things, right? I'm still pregnant. I'm still giving birth to things that I have to give birth to no matter what, no matter how tired I am, no matter if I'm crying, no matter if I'm sad. And so I can just visualize a lot of single women being at the end of their wilderness season and feeling like they're crawling to the promised land. And God is saying, no, baby girl, I won't let you fail or faint right before you enter into the promised land. So as you're coming up from out of the wilderness, you're going to be leaning on your beloved Jesus Christ is going to carry you, but also the beloved of your husband. Your beloved, your husband, your God-ordained spouse. So what am I saying? Don't get weary in well-doing. Don't give up. Don't grow faint. Because God knows that we are tired, ladies. He knows that this right here is coming to an end. I feel it in my spirit. I know it based off the warfare, right? I know it based off of the distractions. I know it based off how God is moving in our life. And even though we're in the wilderness, we're still able to birth. We're still able to recognize that the promise is still the promise. So I said all of this to say, your wilderness season is over. It is ending. Now lean on your beloved. And Jesus said, I am your beloved. I love y'all. Be blessed.